I had loved myths and legends from the moment. Hello everyone, welcome to the next review. Did not expect to be doing another art book so soon, however there are two main reasons for this. One of which, of course, is you'll be aware that I'm reviewing more Tolkien books recently, Leaf by Nigel for example. And I have of course reviewed The Children of Hurin on the channel and The Silmarillion as well. I will be reviewing The Book of Lost Tales Part 1, which will be my main in-depth discussion of Tolkien's Legendarium in relation to what I perceive to be the quite negative aspects of the Rings of Power series that's coming out quite soon. I thought I should remedy that by reviewing Alan Lee's Lord of the Rings sketchbook. Alan Lee is not only one of my favourite artists in terms of Tolkien's Legendarium, but Gormenghast as well. His depictions of myth and legend. He's also one of my favourite people, I have to say, in terms of his outlook on nature and his kind of disposition. The Lord of the Rings sketchbook. I consider this to be not simply a collection of sketches and watercolour paintings, fantastic ones at that, but almost a kind of a bible for everything that I value and hold dear, which is why I think I find the book so fascinating. It's almost a kind of an encapsulation of this channel's meaning. I can almost replace the Lord of the Rings sketchbook, the title of this art book, with something more generalised, something to do with nature and myth and legend and just again everything that I hold dear. And so not only does the art have this kind of ethereal quality to it, which I personally think of as being the true look and feel of Tolkien's Arda and Ea. It captures everything that I, again, look towards. There are of course many trees, there are just little books, little trinkets, ancient stones, glyph covered stones, there are swords and shields, little quiet villages. There are these fantastic, stately, stalwart statues, quiet landscapes, windswept landscapes, architecture that evokes the florid and the eternal, horses and horns, crags and crevices, kings and queens. I often talk about aesthetic overload on my channel, especially in relation to art books, and I just feel that looking through these pages, I'm actually awed by just the ethereal quality, the severe quality, the melancholy. I think out of every Tolkien artist, for me personally, Alan Lee captures that feeling of a distant past. It really does feel like the true Tolkien to me. And of course, this book is not just an art book. Not only is it extremely dense in terms of its contents, with so many, it really is. It's almost littered and scarred. It's almost chaotic the way this book is structured, but that's what I love about it. There's so much to see. Not only does it have this kind of imagery and structure to it, it's also an account of Alan Lee's childhood. It's an account of his first engagement with Lord of the Rings, with fantasy and myth in general. I think it's of course it's an account also of his working with Peter Jackson to fashion the aesthetic of the original trilogy. Introduction. I first read The Lord of the Rings when I was 17 and working as a gardener in a cemetery. Every day I would lose myself among the ivy-covered crypts and shadowy groves, and in the evenings immerse myself in the strange and beautiful world that J.R.R. Tolkien's books had opened up for me. I had loved myths and legends from the moment that I first encountered them, and it felt as though everything in those stories that most appealed to me had been distilled and refined and forged into this totally compelling narrative. Till the outer suburbs of Middlesex became Middle-earth, and my friends became rangers, and I decided that I would really rather illustrate books and tend graves. There are also little poignant paragraphs that have just as much artistic merit as the sketches and paintings do. The sense of harmony with nature which we witnessed at Rivendell is taken further in Lothlorien, and so while the dwellings above are poised as lightly on the boughs as flowers, the roots of the gigantic trees embrace ancient stonework, creating an arena, a magic circle, in which Frodo and Sam, as well as Galadriel herself, glimpse possible futures. Galadriel's mirror, The glade in which it sits and Carisgalavon are also rings of power, preserving ancient truths and sending ripples of wisdom out into the world. I'm looking at a page called The Steward's Tomb, and again, it's just this aesthetic overload of not only is the art beyond words for me, the text as well. My memories of working in a cemetery, reading Edgar Allan Poe, and wandering in a pre-Raphaelite daze through the atmospheric necropolis in Highgate were finally put to some use when designing the Hallows, where the kings and stewards of Gondor were laid to rest. I really needn't say more. Highly recommend the book. Namari.